Hey everyone, how you doing? Welcome back to the Heavy Groove List. Take two with Courtney, aka Versatile Virgo. How are you, Courtney?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Yeah, doing well, doing well. Just got back from work, and because we're all on different sides of the planet and doing different things at different times. Sometimes it's when you line up stuff, you just get that little bit of amount of time to do something, and so here we are. It's great.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
No worries, no worries. Hey, so the reason I wanted to talk to you is because I've been following you on Instagram for a little while. You have like a really interesting profile and also your blog, which I want to talk a little bit about, and which involves a whole sort of hard music, heavy music lifestyle, not just the music, but you know, food, fashion, up and coming bands, a whole bunch of cool stuff. So, you want to tell us a little bit more about that?
Absolutely, yeah. So thank you very much. So I'm Courtney, aka the Versatile Virgo, and I run a blog dedicated to all things heavy music called theversatilevirgo.com. So I do everything from a New Music Monday, which is it's coming back next week. And then, as you had mentioned, up and coming bands, I do a monthly series called Unsigned and Unleashed, where I feature the best music from unsigned bands across the globe. I do musically inspired fashion, so a band merch of the month. And then I also occasionally do like outfits inspired by album covers. I did one a couple months back for Lita Ford's Dangerous Curves. So things like that. And then musically inspired is something I've recently added as well. So I recently just did a cocktail for Cane Hill's Blood and Honey, and it features a blood and honey garnish. I show you two ways to serve it, but one which is a blood and honey garnish. So yeah, and then I have fan-based things too. I collaborate with different bands and things like that. So I have a series called 5 Songs That Made Me a Metalhead, where other metalheads like myself talk about the 5 songs that turned them into the metalheads they are today.
Cool, cool, cool. There's a little bit about what I'm about is getting people's main influences as well, like in metal, heavy groove, not just isolated to metal, because I've said before in previous episodes, heavy groove can cover a whole bunch of genres, not just in metal, in my opinion. That's why I called it heavy groove and not groove metal, because I wanted to be a little bit more open to other stuff as well.
Absolutely. And I'm kind of the same way. That's actually why I went with the Versatile Virgo, because I didn't want to be like too niched into something, because I like so many different things as long as it's heavy, like anywhere from like psych rock, for example, to stoner doom to death metal, let's say. I'm like everywhere across the board. So, and I like all kinds of different things. So that was definitely a big part in trying to keep my name open and things like that, to be able to
Yeah,
do stuff like that.
most definitely, most definitely. And when we spoke last time, you were saying that when you started your blog, the main thing was about being consistent and just keep putting stuff out there until you had, a bit of an audience, and now it's really working out well for you in terms of collaborations and stuff and getting noticed.
Yeah, absolutely. So the response has been really cool, actually. I didn't really expect for this to turn into anything. Even when I first started, I didn't really tell anybody about my blog. Like, usually the advice that you see will tell you to, like, make sure you tell your family and friends. I told nobody. Like, my husband knew what I was doing, obviously, but other than that, I just kind of wanted it to be my own thing, and I wanted to have like the creative freedom to do what I wanted without the pressure. So I really didn't anticipate having much of a response at all. And when I first started, I initially planned to start this as a food blog. And now, obviously, I added the recipes back in recently. But when you first start a blog, or really any type of platform, but especially a blog, one of the first pieces of advice that you'll see is everything tells you, you know, you have to start writing. Because in the very beginning, nobody's going to know who you are. Nobody's going to like be reading your blog yet, but you have to get content on there, or else why would anybody read it? So I ended up just starting to write. My New Music Monday was actually the first thing that I started doing consistently. And that is definitely, anytime you start any type of platform, consistency is so key. So I think that that was a big part of me being able to like spread the word about certain types of music. And then that opened me up to conversing with different types of bands. And now, like I mentioned, for the Unsigned and Unleashed series, I get music submissions. And then I also, if I see a band that I think is really cool on Instagram, I reach out to them. There's a Facebook group. I'm not really on Facebook, but I lurk this Facebook page for unsigned bands specifically. And there's like a lot of really cool music out there. And with the way the world is today in 2021, you know, releasing music can really reach so many people now, especially because of social media. So it's been really nice in that aspect to not only be able to collaborate with bands, but I've also collaborated with different brands as well that specialize in like the heavy music type of clothing and things like that. So it's been really nice to be able to connect with like-minded individuals like yourself, for example.
Most definitely, most definitely. That's the beauty of the social thing is otherwise, how would we even meet each other? You know, like you might run into each other at a festival, meet for 5 minutes, have a chat, and never see each other ever again. You know, something like that. So these platforms are great for, you know, meeting and starting a little community, and it's great for that.
Exactly. And I'm so thankful for it, especially with this last year, because in general, I'm from a more rural area. So I'm not from like a city that has a huge metal scene. So when we go to shows, for example, there's people from all over different areas. And that's like the one time that we can really, me and my husband, when I say we, really connect with other people that are into the same type of stuff as us. But now with social media, and especially with the lack of concerts last year where we would normally do that, instead that whole type of landscape with being able to connect with each other, I think changed a lot too. So it was definitely kind of a blessing in disguise. And that's kind of like the whole reason I started my blog, with all the just crazy things that were going on. I thought, why not?
Yeah, exactly. Take advantage of the circumstances rather than, you know, being disadvantaged by them. So most definitely.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I wanted to sort of dive a bit into the music in terms of your loves in heavy music. What was your first stuff that you got into, and the stuff that you're into now?
Okay, so so musically in general, I'm actually into a lot of different types of music. Like I just prefer heavy music most of the time, but I'm really open to everything. So when I was very young, I'm a 90s baby, so that was when pop music was really big and all the boy bands and stuff. And I was kind of raised that way. And then as I got older, and because I'm a 90s baby, I also still have the grunge part of me. So like bands like Alice in Chains, for example, I was always kind of like exposed to, but I didn't really get super into them until I got older and like more aware of like what they were talking about and like really how in depth the music was and things like that. But for me, it all kind of started with MTV and specifically with TRL, because my favorite thing after school was watching TRL so I could watch all the music videos. And then even before I left for school, I would watch music videos before I left too. And I remember the video for Backcountry by Avenged Sevenfold premiering on TRL and just being like, oh my God, what is this? Like, I had never seen something so dark and so wild and just like Like it was just totally different than anything I had seen on there before, and especially with what the popular music landscape was, like I mentioned. So that was like a really big thing for me. And then because of Avenged Sevenfold, they had a cover of Pantera's Walk. And that's actually how I got introduced to Pantera, was because of Avenged Sevenfold. And then just kind of snowballed from there, because I was so into like music videos and stuff. And then I think around this was like right before YouTube, I think, and stuff started to really become even like a platform. But our cable network had an on-demand section that had like certain music videos. So that's how I discovered Lamb of God, was with their Redneck video, which to this day I think is one of the best music videos ever, and it's hilarious, and everybody should watch it. And it's also one of my favorite God songs. So yeah.
Wow, that's cool. And obviously there are a bunch of heavy bands there, but you've also mentioned that as time progressed, Alice in Chains became your favorite band. So you want to tell us why they're your favorite band?
Oh yeah, definitely. So when I was about 15, I want to say, and I was a very angsty teenager, was when I really started to get into Alice in Chains. And it just kind of like clicked for me that I was like, wow, these guys like understand me, like they get it. And I think for anybody that's an Alice in Chains fan would agree with me when I say that they are such a unique band. Like their sound is all their own, in my opinion. They have emotion behind it, but they also, and they're kind of metal, but kind of hard rock, but kind of just everything. And they also have this super dark vibe and elements of sludge metal, for example. So I just had really found a band that had affected me, I guess, the way that they had with their music. And I was immediately just like obsessed with them. I had Music Bank, for example. I no longer have it because somebody stole it from me, but I used to have it. And I would watch it all the time. And like even some of their music videos, I just think are awesome. Like the video for We Die Young, I think is one of my favorite music videos probably. And Facelift is one of my favorite albums, but Dirt is also up there too. So yeah, I'm pretty crazy about Alice in Chains.
Nice. What do you think of the new guy, William?
So I don't think that they could have picked a better vocalist to start things back up with again. In terms of their sound, I think that he blends so well with them. Obviously, Lane Staley is my favorite vocalist of any band, any genre, anything. He is my favorite vocalist of all time. So there's no really replacing Lane, but I do love the new music that they do now too. Like even their recent albums, Rainier Fog, The Devil Put Dinosaurs Here, Black Gives Way to Blue, I think are amazing albums. And they still have kept the same sound. And I think that's kind of what's so impressive about them too, is when bands lose a major part of the band like that, I think it's kind of hard for fans to see how they could kind of move on. But I think Alice in Chains has done a really successful job of being able to still pay homage to Lane and like still preserve his legacy, but also give William Duvall his own light and his own sound and his own music with them. I think, yeah, I really like William Duvall too, but Lane will always be my number one.
I think you made a good point, actually, because often when bands replace a member or a member passes away and they get a new member in, it's never the same. Like, I guess it never ever will be the same again, but to an extent, with the new person, you still want to capture that vibe and, whatever you brought to the fans previously, you want to continue to bring it to them in the live experience, especially. And I think Alice have definitely kept that really well because, like you said, I saw them a couple of years back when they did the Rainier Fog tour when they came to Australia, and it was an awesome live show.
Yeah.
Okay, Lane's not up front. Never got to see him with Lane. Well, that's too bad. But you get to see him with this guy, and he did an amazing job. He's an awesome vocalist, plays guitar, obviously. Yeah, so nothing was lacking. So that was the best part.
Yeah, I actually saw them on the same tour, and that was my first time ever getting to see them. And I would have to say the same thing. Like, they put on a great live show in general. Like, the energy when they did Man in the Box, I honestly felt like I had died and gone to heaven. And I think anybody who has known me throughout my life, I actually had posted, I have a personal Instagram page, but just so everybody out there knows, I really don't use it. So you're better to find me as the Versatile Virgo. I'm thinking about deleting it. I just haven't had the time. But on my personal Instagram page a while back when that tour happened, I had posted pictures from the concert, and I had friends from college that I hadn't spoken to in a long time that had messaged me and said, "Oh my God, you finally got to see Alice in Chains. I'm so happy for you," because I had wanted to see them so bad, and everybody knew I was the Alice in Chains girl. Like, I was gonna convince you some way, somehow, to be a fan of Alice in Chains. That's my superpower.
That's great. That's great. I first got into them in high school, probably, 91, 92, when they, in the middle of those two releases, Facelift and Dirt. And
oh wow.
Yeah, they took the place by storm over here as well. Obviously Nirvana was about to drop and was huge as well. Soundgarden were massive over here. But the metalheads seem to embrace Alice in Chains a little more, they're obviously with their sound. Soundgarden a little as well, because some of their heavier tracks. But Alice just seemed to, cross over a little bit more to a wider diversity of tastes rather than some of the other bands. So I think that's why they were so big.
Yeah, and that's what I think is so cool about them, especially they are the one grunge era band that was popular for the grunge scene but could still hold their own touring with Slayer, which I can't think of any other band from that same music scene that really could do that other than Alice in Chains. And I just think that that's what's so cool about them. And even as I got older, because when I was the one metalhead in my Catholic school, I didn't really have very many friends that were into the same style of music. And then even as I got older and I met other people in high school that were very few and far between, but that at least listened to Avenged Sevenfold and Metallica and things like that, I still didn't really know anybody that was a huge Alice in Chains fan like me. And it's been so cool for me in recent years to see all these metal bands now that I guess are Alice in Chains fans that are doing covers of their songs. I think it was Ginger and Suicide Silence together did, it's been a while, Man in the Box, I think. And then Metallica also just did an Alice in Chains cover recently too. So it's just things like that. And then now because of social media, I really get to see, yourself, so many people that are so captivated by this band like me. So that's what's really been cool for me about the whole evolution, I guess, of my love for this band.
That's awesome. I'll have to see if I can hunt down those covers because I haven't come across them. So that'd be cool.
Yeah. You can, I know the Ginger and Suicide Silence one I watched on YouTube, and I'm sure the Metallica one's probably on YouTube somewhere too, but definitely check them out. The Ginger and Suicide Silence one is awesome. It was really good.
Yeah, that vocalist from Ginger, she's amazing.
And
Yeah. Yeah, I was just saying, yeah, the vocalist from Ginger, she's amazing. The way she just switches it up. Like she flicks the switch and then she's a monster and then she flicks it again and then she's like singing like an angel. She's unbelievable how she sings.
oh, yeah. She's amazing. I'm hoping that I get to see them at some point. I just saw like they had added another show, and I think there's still tickets available for some of their shows on their tour that's coming up. But yeah, I had first gotten into Ginger with their song Sit, Stay, Roll Over. And I love that song. And it's so just like vicious and it's like unfiltered. It's an amazing song. And then she can go and do something like that and then do a song like a great example of what you were just talking about is Retrospection from their newest album, where she literally goes from like singing beautifully to just screaming. And it's amazing. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Ginger.
Yeah. A lot of talent. A heap of talent there. So I see you're wearing a Slayer shirt today. What's your favorite Slayer album or song?
Oh, okay. So my favorite Slayer album is definitely Seasons in the Abyss.
Oh, yep.
And my favorite Slayer song is Dead Skin Mask.
Okay.
That main riff in there. Oh, such a good song.
Well, the guitarist in my band, Mick, will be happy with your answers. I think his answers are almost the same as yours. Seasons and Dead Skin Mask.
Oh,
yep. That's cool.
Yeah, I mean, I love Rain and Blood too, but Seasons is definitely my favorite for sure.
Yeah. It's got a bit more dynamics in there in Seasons than a lot of other albums, which is cool.
Yeah, definitely, I agree for
Yeah.
sure. Slayer's one of those bands that I think you think of Slayer as just, I guess, like what the mainstream perceives Slayer as is just like this viciously intense band. And yes, that is true. But they also just have, I don't know, I kind of just want to say like so many groovy elements. Like a song like Dead Skin Mask, for example, has so much just like vibe to it that I think for a long time things like that in heavy music had kind of gotten overlooked, and now because it's reaching so many more people, things like that are starting to become noticed more, and I think that's really cool. So especially for songs like Dead Skin Mask, anybody that's gonna like one of my favorite Slayer songs is cool with me. So
nice. Have you seen them live?
Yes. I actually saw them on their final tour, and that is probably one of my favorite shows I've ever been to. They would go from playing like something like Rain and Blood, for example, or Rain and Blood, I'm sorry, and cut the lights and then just cut to a spotlight on Tom Arroyo, like smiling, super big smile, being like, "Hey, is everybody okay out there? How's it going?" Like just teasing, and then they go back to playing. Then they cut all the lights, spotlight on Tom Arroyo, and he's like, "Okay, so how's it going, everybody?" And then back to the music again. Like it was just such an awesome show, and yeah, I was definitely one of my favorite concert memories for sure. And touring with Anthrax too, I really wanted to see Anthrax, and they were with them on that tour. Lamb of God was with them on that tour. So, have you seen Slayer?
Yeah, I saw them 98, I think it was, when they did that album, that late 90s album, Music in Diabolus or something. I can't remember the name of the album, but it's got almost like that black and white cover.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one. It was, I actually like that album. It's an album no one really talks about much. It's kind of more groove elements in that album than thrash and 100 miles an hour. But it's got some cool stuff.
Yeah. I like that album too. I think it gets a lot of unnecessary flack. And I think there's a lot of albums from bigger bands that are like that. Obviously, in my opinion, for a lot of big bands like Slayer, Metallica, and stuff, I think there's like a golden era of albums that maybe fans prefer, and then albums that kind of fall outside of that, especially in the later years, get a lot of flack. But what people don't realize is people that were being introduced to those bands from that album actually maybe prefer those albums, or actually really like those albums, or maybe it's their favorite. So I don't like when the albums like that get like so much flack for no reason, but I like that album too. Another album that gets a lot of hate actually just had an anniversary, which is Saint Anger, and I get it. For Metallica. I get, like, well, it's not, Ride the Lightning or anything like that, but both of those albums are okay with me too. I mean, I think those bands are so consistent, and even though maybe it's not a fan's choice on what the best album is, it's still like not bad. It's still not bad music. It's still enjoyable. It's still a good listen, and yeah.
I think the reason Saint Anger gets so much criticism is a couple of reasons. One is the production. Another one is just the songs, the songwriting on that album. And then it was on the tail of that whole documentary as well. But if you think about it, it's one of their most important albums, because if it wasn't for that bridge there, there would be no more. So no matter what anyone says about that.
Yeah, exactly. I think it all plays a part in where these bands evolve to. And I think that's the one thing that I think is hard for heavy music fans is, I don't want to say to see bands evolve, because that's not what I mean, but as they get out of those like specific albums, Slipknot's another one, for example, that they were a huge band that helped get me into metal too. Around the same time of Lamb of God was when I was discovering them, and they're right now, I guess, because they're coming out with a new album, or at least it's been announced that they're working on one, and Clown, I believe, has said like multiple times about multiple albums that, oh, this one's going to be just like Iowa. And I actually saw people saying recently, like, it's okay. You don't always have to say everything's going to be like Iowa. I actually think to see that like fans are saying that, because for a long time, especially for Slipknot, that's the one band that I've been a fan of for a very long time, that because they helped introduce me to the metal scene and are definitely in my 5 songs that made me a metalhead, they will always have a special place in my heart. So when they get any type of hate, like, I just don't get it. But I think like it's nice to see how that type of thinking, I guess, is evolving too. I see so much hate about Saint Anger, but then every now and then on social media, I'll see a post that says, I don't care what anybody says, this is my favorite Metallica album. And I'm like, good for you.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, just because everyone else hates something doesn't mean you have to as well. So, yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like, look, you're never going to please everyone, no matter what you do. You might be the thing that you think is the best thing you've ever done, and half of your fans don't think so. Well, that's just too bad. So.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I agree.
Yeah. So, what have you been playing lately? What's on your playlist that's really making you feel good?
So, a lot of the newer stuff I've been into lately, I'm really into Spirit Box right now. I don't know if you listen to them, but they have a song called Holy Roller, and Holy Roller was my favorite song of 2020. At least one, 2 favorite songs of 2020, but I'm going to say it was my favorite song of 2020. And it's going to be on their new upcoming album, which is actually their debut album that's coming out on my birthday, September 17th. that's going to be on there. They have actually a newer single, though, called Circle With Me, and it's definitely one of my favorite songs of 2021 so far, too. So I'm super excited about their album. Another one that I'm really into that I cannot stop listening to is Seven Souls by Carnifex. It is one of, I think, it's another one that I think is just one of the best songs of 2021. Like, it has so many different elements that I like to it. Like, there's so much depth to it. It's just a great song. And then I'm still really into the Acacia Strain. They're one of my favorite newer bands. Their album that they released last year, Slow Decay, was one of my favorite albums of 2020, and I highly recommend everyone check it out. If you only listen to one song, though, listen to Chinnamasta. It's amazing. That's another one that was one of my favorite songs of 2020. And the Acacia Strain's a really cool band because they are like masters of marketing, in my opinion, and they have great merch ideas. They actually just posted that you can order it now, but it's limited. I think you can only order it till like June 13th or something. They're releasing beach towels, a cooler, hats like for summer and things like that. And part of the reason I was so captivated by Slow Decay was like because their album artwork, and they had actually started releasing the songs on the album in 2-song EPs before they even announced an album, and the letters of each EP ended up spelling out decay, and then they announced the album. Like, and this album got me into collecting vinyl now. So I would say those 3 bands are big ones for me right now.
Cool. So is their album a whole bunch of new songs? Like the EPs are all done, and then is the album a whole bunch of different songs, or?
So what they did is the album, off the top of my head right now, it's either, I want to say it's like 12 songs, 10 or 12 songs. And they released 2 songs on each EP, and then those were on the album. And then when the album came out, there was 2 additional songs. And the thing is with the Acacia, you would think that would be like something difficult for them to sell albums, because it's like, well, you already released it on this 2-song EP. But they have such a dedicated fan base, and like now I'm one of those crazy fans, so I understand why. But you can see like there's people that will buy like multiple variants consistently. I know that people do this for different bands in general, but the Acacia Strain specifically, I have seen so many fans that have so much different merch that they collect for them. And like I said, now I'm one of those fans because they just have really cool merch. I have my Slayer shirt on now, but I have a blue long sleeve that I got with my Slow Decay bundle, and it's like my favorite long sleeve. So I'm in the market for the Acacia Strain shirt, though. I'm keeping my eyes peeled for what's next from them.
Well, whatever they're doing, it seems to be working, so that's a cool thing.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, definitely.
You were mentioning when we spoke last time, you were mentioning that you're also a big Rob Zombie fan. And so you want to mention a little bit about that, especially his newer stuff?
Oh, yeah, definitely. So his new album, The Lunar Injection Kool-Aid Eclipse Conspiracy, I'm super into right now. It's definitely an album I recommend everyone check out. Rob Zombie to me is somebody that's really not bound by any subgenres. He is his own entity to me, like how we were talking about heavy music can be so many different things. And that's kind of like what Rob Zombie is. Like his new album has elements of country. It obviously has elements of industrial metal, and it also has elements of doom metal. And it's just a really good listen from start to finish. Shake Your Ass, Smoke Your Grass is a great song. I think everybody will like that song. I highly recommend checking it out. But there's a lot of cool stuff on there. in general, I really like Rob Zombie. I liked him with White Zombie too. I actually just started TikTok, and I chose a White Zombie song for one of my videos that I just posted recently, and it was like really cool to see how many people are into White Zombie. That's another thing. I have never met very many hardcore White Zombie fans until like all this with social media and everything, you know.
I'm one.
You're a White Zombie fan too, yeah.
Yeah. Huge White Zombie fan. A little more so than the Rob Zombie solo stuff, but I probably haven't given it enough time of day, the solo stuff. But I think for me, because again, I got into it when they just released Las Exorcisto, and then I got in, like, Astro Creep came after that. So that was like, the holy grail kind of stuff for me. So anything he did by himself after was never going to quite cut it for me. But, I think what you've said has sort of made me think, no, I should probably give the new album a bit more of a listen. I did hear some of it, but I it didn't grab me enough to listen to the whole thing. So I'll give it another shot.
Awesome. Yeah. I think it's worth checking out, and at least check it out and see if you like it. And then definitely let me know too, because I think of his recent, like, I am more of a Rob Zombie fan. This is actually one of my favorite releases of his solo stuff ever. I think this particular album to me is a really good one. So it's actually on my best of 2021 so far.
All right. That's cool. That's a good enough recommendation for me. I'll check it out properly.
Cool. Awesome.
Nice. Just backtracking a little bit to your blog, your blog and your website. I wanted to also make sure I mentioned about the clothing, especially for women who are into metal, because that's something you're really big into, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So for the longest time, as I mentioned, I'm from a rural area. So, maybe in cities like Los Angeles, for example, I think there's more of a scene where you can find clothes that are more of that specific aesthetic, for example. But where I am, it's nothing like that. It's a very rural area. So when I was looking for a shirt to wear to Slayer's final tour, I thought finding a fitted women's Slayer tank top would be easy. Like, I thought I could just go on Google, find multiple, pick which one I liked, and be done with it. No, it was not like that at all. And I finally found on Etsy a shop called Vagabond Creations that specialized at the time in reconstructed, officially licensed band merch. And now she still does the band tops occasionally, but now she has her own designs. But because of that discovery, all because of Slayer, I discovered a whole new world of fashion with a bunch of small businesses. Most of them are women-owned that specialize in officially licensed merch that's reconstructed, and a lot of them do custom orders, and a lot of them do for both plus sizes, regular sizes as well. So on my blog, theversatilevirgo.com, I have a list of different shops that specialize in that specific type of clothing. So if you're a female out there like me and you're looking for some really cool merch, a lot of it is one of a kind as well. So nobody else is going to have the same thing as you. I highly recommend checking out all of these shops. I personally shop with them with my own money. When I collaborate with people, I like specifically with brands, I always note I've collaborated with somebody, but a lot of times, like for things like that, if I'm recommending something, I spent my own hard-earned money on it, and I'm not going to recommend something that I don't fully believe in. So these brands specifically, I do, and I really hope that my list that I have on my blog, I want to keep it as a comprehensive list. So if there's anybody watching this that is a small business that specializes in that and would like to be featured on my list so other girls like me can help find your shop, definitely get in contact with me too. All my info's up at theversatilevirgo.com, and I'd be happy to collaborate with you for that.
That's awesome. That's great. That's really good because, like you said, when you were on your own search, you couldn't find anything, and now you're offering a solution to other women who are trying to find stuff. So that's great.
Yeah, well, it's like a lot of this stuff, it's kind of like, how do you know to search for it if you don't know that it's out there? And like I said, something that you would think is so simple, even when you see, because I mean, obviously, regular band tees are not fitted for women's bodies. They're not always the most flattering. So it's really nice to have different options that I can wear my band merch all the time now. But even when there is like ladies sizing in band merch, a lot of times it's not like normal women's sizing. My girls out there will understand this, that a lot of times it's fitted like juniors clothing and it's much smaller, and it, for a girl like me that's kind of like curvier, it just doesn't fit right. So small businesses like that have definitely been a godsend for me, especially for like concert outfits and stuff.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Hey, Courtnee, it was awesome talking to you. Thank you for getting online again with me, and because we had a few technical difficulties the first time we spoke, but anyway, we'll see. Hopefully this one all turns out all good, and we'll definitely stay in touch, and we'll exchange music, and when my band drops some stuff, I'll definitely let you know, because we're getting in the middle of doing our stuff. So yeah, so
absolutely, yeah. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks so much for being online with me today. And when I get around to editing this, putting it up, I'll put a link and tag you in on Instagram, and so we'll exchange information once again.
Okay, perfect. Sounds good. And then, like I said, just let me know and I'll share it on my stuff too.
Cool. Thanks so much, and take care, and all the best for your blog, your website, and all the collaboration that you're doing. You're doing an awesome job.
Thank you. Likewise. Same to you.
Okay. See you soon. Bye.
Bye.